Ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into GeekCast Radio's Music Spotlight, the countdown of our top 10 favorite artists or bands from the 1990s, I am TFG1 Mike. Steve Megatron is joining me. Hello, sir.
Hello.
And we have some business to attend to. We have to respond to a couple of iTunes reviews for GeekCast Radio Podcast. This first one, I recorded a YouTube rant video about it. I have that video unlisted, so unless people have the link, they won't be able to find it. Because I'm probably going to end up deleting it, because my initial reaction to this iTunes review was very, very in the negative and very in the pissed off kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's the first one. Jack of all trades, master of none. 1-star review by DJ Crixus, I don't know how to say his name, or her name, whatever, left on March 3rd, 2012. This is basically one guy with different co-hosts covering every geek topic out there. It's fun sometimes. A lot of the time the host seems barely knowledgeable on the subjects and often cites lack of time to really research the show's topics he is discussing, and has so many podcasts to watch stuff for. He should really pick one topic he loves and make a podcast. Trying to make a network out of poorly researched shows with no coherent publishing schedule is just pretty pointless.
Let's take the first paragraph before we go to the second one. For instance, it's not just one guy. Yes, it is primarily Mike because he has the most time. However, there are others. There is Kevin, there's myself, there's Michael Wilson on selective shows, there's, a rotating co-host thing. And it's not because, we just want random people. It's because those people happen to be knowledgeable in the topic that we're covering.
Exactly.
And it's not that we aren't knowledgeable, it's just that they're more knowledgeable, and the fact that we can have someone to bounce off of.
Exactly. And basically calling me out and saying that I don't do my research. Are you flippin' kidding me? Seriously?
Now, that may be true with some early shows. In the
Right.
very, 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 very early GeekCast Radio, M-Wire, any of the shows in their infancy within, maybe their first 10 episodes.
Right.
Beyond that, they've all gone through massive overhauls.
Right.
And we've gone to the extreme of not even trying to use Wikipedia. I mean, we may use selective elements from it, but we do not read from it. We do not, first people bash us for, citing Wikipedia or reading off of it, and then people bash us for
not having enough information.
Not having enough information.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really doesn't make sense to sit here and bitch on this comment. But
no. But the thing of it is, though, it's like essentially he's saying to me that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about when I put in in all aspects of the GeekCast Radio Network, I put in 40 to 60 hours a week between recording podcasts, editing podcasts, doing research, watching shows, listening to music, having toy reviews, stuff like that. Doing blogs, I spend a lot of time creating the network that we've created and getting it to where we want to get it to. I said in my video that I spent an entire week and I watched all 130 episodes of Thundercats to be researched and be ready for the Thundercats Tooncast Classic episode. And as Steve said, in the beginning, we were very rough. In the beginning, I was very rough in TFG1 Podcast. I know that. I've learned from it, and I've gotten better. So if you're just finding us now, keep listening because it does get better. You want to take part of that second paragraph?
Okay, this is where I take a little bit more offense. And I'm trying to be constructive about it, so don't chew my head off. Right. The fact that he says he should really pick one topic he loves and make a podcast, isn't that what we're doing with different podcasts? We're picking one topic, i.e. Transformers or Beast Wars or cartoons in general television shows in general, there's separate shows based on that one topic. Because I'm sorry, you're not just going to sit there and have one show if you're loving various ones.
Yeah.
Yes, there are people that sit and do one show. And yes, while it might be great, there's still things that you don't want them to overlap.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We use stuff like Tooncast Classic and Tooncast Beyond to do overall arcing discussion episodes of cartoons where, down the line we may start a more in-depth podcast about a specific cartoon, say Transformers Prime, for example. We'll start a more in-depth version of that and we'll actually review episode by episode. That's the way our process works.
Well, I mean, it's like the upcoming Tooncast Beyond DeLorean episode, which would be I believe the first one
for Mega Man.
There's Mega Man, which eventually will be covered in another show. There's rebooting Mainframe, which will be divulging from the reboot episode of the DeLorean Time episodes of Tooncast Beyond. So I mean, we're not just trying to create a network out of just random shows, and no, they're not poorly researched. We don't talk about them if we aren't passionate about them. I myself, for instance, we get people that know what the hell they're talking about because we don't want to look like asses. And two, if, for instance, if, any of us don't really care about it, we don't cover it.
Exactly.
If I don't care about it, I won't even join the episode. I'll listen to it and I'll enjoy it from, the
listener's perspective.
Yeah, the listener's perspective. But I won't join a show that I know nothing about or try and just dance my way through it. Now, yes, there have been occasions where we have jumped through episodes.
Right.
But we're still fairly knowledgeable on them to the point we don't have to do the research.
Right. As far as where he says, with no coherent publishing schedule, are you fucking kidding me?
Every Wednesday there's been a Tooncast or Tooncast Beyond episode. Every Monday or Tuesday there's been a different release, either Legends or
TTF.
Or ATTF, or some Transformers related shows come out on a Monday every time, and then on a Tuesday there's been Batman for right now, and then yes, granted some other shows are not in production right now. They will be back.
M-Wire, when it's in production, which it still is, we just have to get around to recording episode 87 and 88. M-Wire releases, and for the last 3 years has released, when we've been able to get it there, every Saturday. Every Saturday for the last 3.5 years, unless the show has been on hiatus, unless real life interferes, it has released every Saturday. There have been some times where multiple M-Wires will go up in 1 week, and the same thing with any show. It just depends on what we can get done when we get it done. My goal with not only creating the network, but my goal with all the future podcasting that we're going to be doing is we have, and this is going to depend on, when Steve can actually, because I give Steve all the credit in the world for the web design, for the publishing, for the RSS. He handles all the technical stuff. When Steve can upload an episode and I can go ahead and publish it on the website, that's when it gets released, essentially. The entire schedule is tentative, but we do aim for, specific days of the week. My actual personal goal is to have us have an episode of any one podcast. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be Telecast, could be Legends of the Dark Knight, could be Rebooting Mainframe, whatever. My goal is to have one podcast release per day, 6 days a week, and then not do any releases on Sundays. That's my goal eventually for the entire network, when we have so many podcasts that we can release one piece of content per day, per week. And again, you're essentially bitching about free content, really?
I mean, I'm not trying to totally bash, because I do...
I'm not either.
I do, and I know you're not either. I mean, it's just... That's kind of a whacked out accusation to make in the slightest. I mean, I know it's his opinion. However, he obviously didn't go very far in the shows to actually hear where it got good.
Yeah.
And
I'm wondering
we do
how
admit
many
the old
episodes
shit
you've
is
actually
bad.
listened to.
We do, please send us email and let us know what ones you've listened to, and we'll be able to direct you to better ones later in whatever that show happens to be.
Exactly.
Like
and
ATTF, I'll admit, the first run of it fucking sucked. The second run upon the, we did have some good episodes here or there, but ATTF 2 is actually where it hit its stride.
Yeah.
And that's with any of the shows. They've had reboots, and that's why.
Yeah. Just one final note on this thing of us being poorly researched. Have you listened to the 10-plus hours of podcasting we put into the GeekCast Radio Network Top 100 Animated Series? Kevin, myself, Steve, all of the contributors that came on the episodes with us.
Blogomatic, This Week in Geek.
Yeah, we put in a lot of hard-ass work into that countdown. So, anyways, the other review that I want to bring up is the latest one left on March 15th, 2012 by our buddy Movie Revolt, who does blogging on geekcastradio.com. It says, Unleash the Geek. It is a 5-star review. GeekCast Radio is the flagship of the GeekCast Radio Network and covers a large variety of topics of which any geek would greatly appreciate. Great mixture of info, fun, and downright good time. They certainly know how to unleash the geek in a variety of ways. Great work. So thank you to Movie Revolt for that review.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes. And now, without any more further ado or further bitching, we are going to get into
GeekCastRadio.com presents GeekCast Radio. Special episode. Top 10 favorite artists or bands of the 90s. With your hosts, Mike TRT1 Blanchard, JT From Saskatoon, and David Double D Denis.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of GeekCast Radio. This will continue the epic music spotlight we have planned here at GCR. I am one of your hosts, Dave, Joe, and Mike, and joining me is David Double D Denis from This Week in Geek. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
It is going.
Awesome.
Finally. After, Houston, we have a problem. And JT from Saskatoon, who is an authentic geek that can't get his time right, because Saskatoon doesn't follow daylight savings time.
Well, yeah, see, that way we don't have to worry about things like that.
Yeah, but see, I've been, dealing with daylight savings time my whole life, so I'm used to it.
Okay, so we don't have to change our clocks. We just, let's see, Raw starts an hour ahead of time. Okay.
And we are here to count down our top 10 favorite artists or bands of the 1990s. Before we get to that, we're going to make some honorable mentions. For me, I only have 4 honorable mentions. 98 Degrees, who I do not see them as a boy band. I know that they are classified as that, but they had more of a soulful sound than Bye, Bye, Bye.
Yeah, they were more Boys to Men than NSYNC, so.
Yes, exactly. Creed, I loved Creed in the beginning. I loved them up till Weathered, and then they kind of disappeared. They broke up, and the 3 other members went on to do Alter Bridge with Miles Kennedy. One of the reasons why I liked Creed was because Higher kept showing up in everything. It was a music cue for the Titan AE trailer. It was just, that song was everywhere, and that's really the only reason why I like them. DC Talk. I actually, when I was younger and stupider and goofier, I actually used to do music videos to DC Talk songs. My cousins and I would dance around to like Free at Last and Jesus is Just Alright and all that.
That's so lame, but kind of hilarious.
I was 14. Shut the hell up.
Do these videos
okay.
still exist?
No, thank God.
That's unfortunate.
Because that would be awesome.
It was... Oh, God, I don't think I've ever revealed this to anyone. Sadly, it was before the popularity of the Trenchcoat Mafia. It was me in a black trench coat and my two cousins. And we would dance to Love is a Verb, pretty much anything off the Free at Last record, all those songs, because those were some of the greatest songs that they ever did. But yeah, I absolutely loved DC Talk back in the day. And Collective Soul. Collective Soul had a lot of great songs. World I Know, December, Shine. Some of their other ones that I knew was them, but I didn't like. I think Why Part 2 I paid attention to, but one song that I heard and I was like, is that Collective Soul? But I didn't really pay attention to it at the time, was Heavy, and I absolutely love that song. So they are a number of my honorable mentions for this countdown. What about you, Dave? What kind of honorable mentions do you have?
The big ones for me, there's two really big ones that almost made my list, and then at the last minute I just cut them out. That would be REM, who I basically cut out because I think they were at their peak in the 80s, more so than the 90s. So they had a lot of really great stuff in the 90s. Losing My Religion, Man on the Moon, What's the Frequency, Kenneth. There was quite a few really great songs that they released in that decade. So they'd probably be like a number 11, and if I had a number 12, it would be the Pixies, because they're another band that's very influential to music today, and just released some of the best albums of that decade with stuff like Doolittle and Surfer Rosa. Yeah. I don't know, there's a few other more obscure bands that you guys might not have heard of that I like Yola Tango or the Flaming Lips.
I've heard of the Flaming Lips. I don't think I've ever heard any of their songs, but I know of them.
But you know who they are. They're one of the best bands to ever go see in concert. I'll just say, if anyone's listening to this and they're wondering what concerts to go see the Flaming Lips. It's awesome. Like you, I also was into Christian music more so in the 90s than now. I don't think it has anything to do with me being less of a Christian or anything, but I think it's just Christian music isn't as good now as it was in the 90s.
I mean, because the 90s you had, like, what, Newsboys, DC Talk, Jars of Clay.
Audio Adrenaline was a big one for me.
Audio Adrenaline.
Even people that were more adult contemporary, like Stephen Curtis Chapman, were better in the 90s than they are now. So yeah. It was a good era for that subgenre of music.
Oh, yes, it was. What about you, JT? Do you have any honorable mentions that didn't make your list?
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, I never listened to the Christian music back then, just not because I didn't think it was good. It's just basically everyone else
You're
was
an
listening.
atheist. Don't lie.
I'm not an atheist. How dare you, sir?
I just outed JT from Saskatoon on being an atheist.
You outed nothing, Aquaman. No, I guess one of the honorable mentions I'm going to bring up right away is the bands Live and Vertical Horizon. Now, Live I really got into because of a friend of mine named Curtis back in high school, and because they had a lot of passion in their music, and like I said, The Dolphins Cry is probably one of my all-time favorite songs that come out of the 90s.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's pretty much the only song I really remember from Live.
Really?
There's
the
others.
The only song I know by them is Lightning Crashes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's the only one I've ever
missing
heard.
Out on so much good stuff. Oh, my God.
Well,
Now, see, I know Live, and I'm not trying to take away from your honorable mentions here, but since you brought them up, I didn't find them until 2000, 2001. And I had heard, like, I Alone and Lightning Crashes, and I absolutely loved it. And I immediately went out and bought every album that they had ever done to that point. And I've listened to all of their stuff, and I absolutely love those guys. Amazing, amazing stuff.
Yeah. Then when it comes to, the boy band type things, where I was a huge fan of Savage Garden back in the day.
Yes.
Mainly, I wouldn't say it's because the song "I Want You." I liked
Yeah.
"To the Moon and Back." Like that's a couple of their other songs, but I mean,
Yeah.
I was a big fan. I've always been a big fan of like catchy singing groups, duets, stuff like that. And I guess another one, I didn't know they had a bigger catalog because I only really ever heard like 2 songs of theirs
Mm.
back in the day. Was Vertical Horizon.
Yep.
Like, I mean, they started in the early 90s, and I heard their stuff there and there. They never really became a big thing for me until I think it was like the very late 90s when their You're a God and Everything You Want became like huge radio hits.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Those are the only those are the only 2 songs by them I even know.
No, I actually, it's like you said, I'm sorry, I blanked into you. Who did you say you went and bought all their albums?
Alive.
Alive, yeah.
Yeah.
When I got into like iTunes, like one of the first bands that I went and bought, everything I could find in iTunes was Vertical Horizon because they're kind of like, I wouldn't necessarily mean this exactly, but they're kind of like a poor man's Goo Goo Dolls for me. Like they kind of had that same kind of.
Yeah, Vertical Horizon was a little bit harder. I mean, Goo Goo Dolls,
Yeah.
Johnny Resnick and the Goo Goo Dolls, they can go hard, but Vertical was more so a harder version of the Goo Goo Dolls, a little bit in some instances, but they did have that same style, I would say.
And I think just to another honorable mention I want to give is just because I was huge into the Euro dance music of the 90s. I loved listening to that stuff.
Please do not tell me you're going to bring up Eiffel 65.
No.
Thank God.
I'm going to bring up the Venga Boys because I love that one music video.
They sound familiar. What was like the song that they like a song that they did?
So that boom, boom, boom.
Oh, yeah.
And, well, everyone loves Aqua, so I'm just going to give it up.
No. No.
Soul, sir. You have no soul.
No.
Talk about an atheist.
There are no Barbie girls living in a Barbie world. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but you wait and you go on later and see some of what's the lead singer, Linnaeus. You see some of the music videos she did after the group broke up, and I'm just like, damn.
All right, so is that it for honorable mentions?
I believe so.
I also want to throw out Counting Crows. They were an amazing, amazing band. I loved, when I was living in Massachusetts back in the early 2000s, there was a radio station up there called Mix 98.5, and they would do Acoustic Sunrise every Sunday. And it wasn't just Counting Crows, but it was any, top 40 artist that had acoustic versions. They would play that for like 2 hours every Sunday morning, and it was so awesome. And Counting Crows, they were an amazing acoustic band.
I won't argue with you on that.
Nope.
So, just to let everybody know, none of us know what each of us has on our list. I'm sure it's going to be very eclectic, seeing as how one of the 2 Canadians is very eclectic, and he has Arnold Schwarzenegger doing weird things to him in his spare time. So without any further ado, after this musical interlude, we're going to head to the countdown.
buried in deep. The task was simple, but the price was steep. We got a mission when we're on this earth. We need to tell people about a second birth. Get busy like a schoolboy making an A, 'cause time, my brother, is ticking away.
All right, we are back and kicking off the countdown. The way we're going to do this is we're going to go 10 to 1, and we're all going to rotate. So I'll do my number 10, Dave will do his, JT will do his, or whatever, something like that. So, JT, what is your number 10 for your favorite artist or band of the 90s?
My number 10, to kick it all off, is one of my all-time favorite bands from the 90s, Bush. Alternatively known as Bush X in Canada for a short while because they got sued.
Wow.
Because we have like one of the greatest rock bands of all time. One of my favorites is Bush in Canada, you know, with the ugliest man in rock and roll, Geddy Lee.
Yeah.
And they actually got, you know, quick little side, Bush got sued by Bush. God, there's a lot of Bush.
Wait, don't you mean Rush? That wouldn't be Bush. That would be Rush. Why would Rush sue Bush?
I was looking it up here. It says...
Unless Geddy Lee had a side band named Bush. Geddy Lee is the bassist and lead singer from Rush.
Yeah, no, that's what I was looking up here, unless the article I was reading was completely misspelled.
JT screwed it up.
Mike, be quiet. No, but anyway, I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yes, Bush.
They did get sued, and they had to... It wasn't Geddy Lee. There was an actual Canadian band named Bush, led by Dominic Triano.
Oh, okay, so it was a different band. I was wondering, did Geddy Lee make a different band and just put like
Yeah,
a circle on the bottom of the R in Rush? Just took a magic marker to all the Rush albums.
Geddy Lee broke into a record store last night.
Yes.
No, it's the Bush got sued in like the mid '90s, so they could only appear in Canada as Bush X.
Oh.
And then they got the right to just perform as Bush after each member of the band donated like $20,000 to the Starlight Children's Foundation and a couple other charities. So, but no, Bush was one of my favorite bands because that was when I was really like mid '90s high school. I was really starting to get in and notice music. Like whereas before I just listened, and if I liked it, I liked it. If I didn't like it, I didn't like it. You know, kind of like majority of the Christian rock in the '90s. Not to say it was bad; it's just not my thing. And but no, Bush. I'd have to say like stuff like Everything Zen, Swallowed, Chemicals Between Us. You know, a lot of the big songs I listened to a lot because in high school I got picked on a lot, and I had some really dark days. Not like really, really dark days, but you know, I'd go home and I was like the stereotypical moody high schooler.
Yeah.
For a while, and you know, I got through that listening to a lot of different music, and specifically Bush. And I think it's I wouldn't necessarily call their sound gothic, but they had this slightly kind of goth sound, really emotional, and Gavin Rossdale's voice can be alternatively soothing and irritating. And that's just really, I mean, they were a band that I listened to consistently. If I'm switching through the radio stations and I landed on one that was playing anything Bush, I left it there until the song was over. And yeah, I mean, they also had some really good, like, I bought Razorblade Suitcase simply because of the name. And
that is a cool name for an album.
Yeah.
It is a cool name for an album, but that album actually, outside of Swallowed and Mouth, actually kind of sucks.
It wasn't that great. I also loved Deconstructed, which I think was an album that they put out while they were under the Bush X label.
Yeah, I think so.
Which was basically dance and techno remixes of a lot of their songs.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very soundtrack, very much soundtrack fodder.
Oh, yeah.
But I loved it, and, you know, they did break up, I think, pardon me, 02, 03 they broke up, and that's like one of the few band breakups where I was really kind of bummed out about, because I really did love Bush. So.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? What's your number 10?
My number 10 is Weezer. Kind of a very different band than Bush. Like you mentioned, Bush is more of a dark gothic sound. Weezer is more for if you're in kind of a happy mood.
And if you like hash pipes and being on an island in the sun.
Yes. Very much a band for the geek in all of us. Especially, and they're just a band that'll put you in a good mood, I think.
Especially when you're rolling in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
With the Chihuahuas.
Oh.
They also have a lot of really good music videos, so pretty much if you go to YouTube and watch any one of Weezer's music videos, I think one of them has the Muppets in it. There's the one that's like a 1950s period piece. If you're wondering if I Want You To, I Want You To. There's the one for Island in the Sun where they're like interacting with a bunch of animals in Africa. I don't know. They just have a lot of really great creative music videos, and they're just a very fun band to listen to. So that is why they're on my top 10 spot. Whenever I'm in a good mood, I'm in a Weezer mood.
Are all of their album titles like Colors of the Rainbow? Because I remember like the green album, the red album. Not all of them,
but there's three. Like there's a bunch that have different titles. There's like Pinkerton, Maladroit, Make Believe, Ratitude. But then there's three that are just self-titled albums that all have different colors in the background. It's just pictures of the band standing there with like a different color behind them. The first one, their first ever album, and probably their best album, if you're going to only listen to one Weezer album, is the Blue Album from 1994. And then the Green album was actually after they went on hiatus, and then they came back in 2001. They released the Green album, and then the Red album came out a few years ago.
Yeah.
And those are
All of
basically
which
all
are really good albums.
Yeah, those are all the colored albums are also the self-titled albums, right?
Yeah. So they basically they started with Jason Scott. They went to Tommy Oliver, and then they went to Billy Cranston.
What?
Power Rangers names.
He just linked Power Rangers to Weezer.
That's right.
Okay.
So
job.
My number 10 is Hootie and the Blowfish.
You just like saying Hootie.
I think we talked about these guys in our 90s show, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Bit, and JT made fun of you.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. But that's okay, because
Mike gives me crap about living in Canada. I can give him crap about a band he listens to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't listen to them that much anymore, but in the 90s, because they were, they were breakouts, and, I specifically remember, and I might have told this story in the 90s episode, I don't remember, it's been so long since we did that, driving to and then driving home from a Bruins event, a Boston Bruins event, Hold My Hand, their song Hold My Hand was playing on the way to the Boston Garden and on the way home from the Boston Garden. So I had that song just mesmerized in my head. And I just absolutely loved it. What I love now is, though, it's so funny that Darius Rucker has I mean, the band's since broken up, and he's gone on to be a country artist. So weird.
So he went from Hootie and the Blowfish to Hootie and the Crawfish?
Nice
wow.
one.
Okay. JT, what's your number 9?
Nice segue, Mike. My number 9 is the Canadian band known as Moist, which is a band that I can't really talk around a certain friend of mine because for some reason the word moist creeps her out.
I'm not going to lie, that word bothers me as well. It's probably the most disgusting word in the English language. They actually, if you watch the show Dead Like Me, the mom in that show is disgusted by the word moist and mentions it in the first episode.
I don't get it, but that's I mean, if it bugs you, it bugs you. So
it just sounds gross. I don't know.
Before JT gives why he likes the band, I went through before we did this recording because I wanted to make sure, or actually after I did this recording, I actually went through and looked at different stuff, and I find it funny that their most famous song is I was like, oh god, horrible band name, and just wow.
The song,
yeah,
I believe that's Crash Test Dummies.
Oh, that's Crash Test?
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll come to them later on. So
anyway, why do you like Moist so?
Well,
it just sounds so wrong.
I like this band because
there you
go. This band because again, it's a band that I listened to in the dark times. Basically, it's like they were a little more, I would say, almost hopeful and lighter than Bush, but they still kind of, they had songs like, In the Universe Tonight, Push, Believe Me, stuff like that. It just, their music and the way their lyrics just kind of guided my mind to, like, the better place. It's a band that started really getting me through a lot of tough times. I mean, basically, grade 10 through halfway through grade 11, up until I embarrassed myself at the talent show, was everyone picked on me a lot. And I really didn't give them reasons not to. So, like I say, it's just a band. They had this really, it was alternative rock, but it wasn't a hard alternative rock sound the way a lot of alt rock was in the 90s. And as alternatively irritating and haunting as Gavin Rossdale's voice was, lead singer David Usher had a really soft and melodic voice that I just naturally gravitated to. So I just love the all around. I love their stuff. And again, they're the another band that maybe I wasn't into them as much as I was Bush, but I was kind of disappointed where they didn't really break up, but they take long gaps between recording and touring and all that.
Oh, so they're essentially the Canadian version of Tool.
Yes, except their videos don't scare the crap out of me. Because if you've seen a Tool video, that's some dark visuals, man.
Yes, that's some scary shit right
Though
there.
I think the scariest music video I've ever seen, just going off on a tangent here, is the Smashing Pumpkins video for Try, Try, Try.
Yeah.
Is easily the freakiest video I've ever seen. Burned images into my mind that will never go away.
What about you, Dave? What's your number 9?
My number 9 is a band that was around in the 80s and reinvented themselves in the 90s, and that band is U2. Very, very different band from Achtung Baby and forward than they were in the 80s with stuff like the Joshua Tree and War. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it was almost like in the 80s when dance music and having a lot of electronic influence in your music was popular. U2 wanted to go against that and do stuff that was more organic. And then in the 90s, all of a sudden, when music became more organic, when bands like Nirvana were coming forward, they did the opposite again and went back and did what was popular in the 80s. It was like they contradicted whatever was popular in that decade. But they did it so well that it was still great to listen to. They had a lot of really good songs in the 90s. One is one that sticks out. Mysterious Ways, Stay Far Away So Close. I don't know. I could just go on forever. I think the first U2 album I actually listened to was Best of 1990 to 2000. So this decade was kind of how I got into them, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, they are a great band. My number 9, and we so did not plan this, is actually going back to Bush. So there's one crossover for you on this countdown. I absolutely loved a number of the songs off of 16 Stone. And one thing that JT didn't bring up is they got back together. They're touring now with Nickelback because they released...
it's just like when they first broke up, I should have mentioned.
Right.
That's when
right. Well, I mean, that's why I'm glad you didn't mention it, so I can mention it here, that they have gotten back together since the 2002-2003 breakup. They released The Sound of Winter. And what I find is the 90s version of Bush has a much harder edge than the current version. Right now, Bush, to me, sounds like every other alt-rock band. And I'm not saying that against them. That's the thing, is like, I listen to almost every single track off of their new album, The Sound of Winter, and I can love almost at least 6 out of the 13 or 14 tracks, whereas the older versions of, the older Bush stuff, I think between Glycerine, Machine Head, and Come Down off of 16 Stone, those are the only 3 songs I like off that album. And then later with Razorblade Suitcase, I only like 2 songs off of that one. The Science of Things was the only thing. Chemicals Between Us off of Science of Things was the only thing I liked off that album. So I think that over the years, as they've gotten back together, that they've obviously went the way of every other alternative rock band of, hey, we have to be radio friendly so we can make money. Not saying that they've sold out, but I mean, that's just the way I feel about how the band sounds now versus how they sounded back in the day.
No, I get that.
So, JT, what is your number 8?
Well, my number 8 is probably in my top 5 favorite bands to just plain have fun listening to, kind of like how Dave liked Weezer. Mm-hmm. I love listening to Matchbox 20. And Matchbox 20 they're a band that, like Dave said, how when he wants to have fun listening to music, I'm paraphrasing it best. Same thing with Matchbox 20. I just love their sound. I love almost all their music videos. Rob Thomas is got a voice that I just, again, naturally gravitate to and enjoy listening to unequivocally. Like, is very much a band that there's almost nothing I don't like that has come out from them.
Yeah.
Again, they're a band that, it's not that they broke up, it's just they keep taking hiatuses, and I was like, damn it, keep playing.
Even when they took that first hiatus and Rob went out on his own and did his solo work, I still liked his solo work.
No, that's the thing. I love Rob Thomas's solo stuff. He did the Smooth with Santana, which is easily top 10 favorite song, one of my top 10 favorite songs of the 90s.
Yeah.
Because, you mix Rob Thomas's vocals with, one of the grandmasters of guitar playing in Santana.
That song got so overplayed in the 90s, but I will agree.
It was still a great song, though.
Yeah, that's like one of the overplays that I'm like, and once again, for the 5th time this hour, Smooth. I was like, sweet!
I think that in that instance, we can overlook the overplayedness of songs. There are other times where I've just hated hearing the same song over and over again, but that song is so good that it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah. And I think probably my favorite song of theirs that came out was 3 a.m.
Tells an excellent story.
Yeah, for songs that tell a story, that is probably one of my favorites. And the fact that it's rumored that it was basically Rob Thomas wrote the song and was more or less inspired by his mom. His mom had a cancer scare, which is the rumor. It's never been confirmed one way or the other. So, but I think the fact that he took something, very personal tragedy like that and came out with this song that is almost hopeful, I think is a really good, is one of the main reasons why I love the fact that he can take something like that and crank out such good music.
Oh, yeah. What about you, Dave? What do you got for number 8?
My number 8 is another band that went away and disbanded in the 90s and then just came back recently, Dinosaur Jr. Band that never really reached a huge level of popularity. They were always kind of, I mentioned the Pixies earlier. Dinosaur Jr. was always kind of in the Pixies' shadow in terms of like that independent kind of soft rock scene of the 90s.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really love these guys. Jay Mascis, their lead guitarist, is one of my favorite guitarists probably ever. The way this guy can solo is just incredible. And they're just kind of like Weezer. They're just a cool, fun band to listen to. And they got a lot of songs and a lot of albums that I really like to listen to on a regular basis. So kind of probably the most obscure band. Well, actually, that's not true. There's a more obscure band coming up later, but one of the more obscure bands on this list. But definitely, if you haven't checked these guys out, go and listen to something like "You're Living All Over Me." It's one of the weirder, but definitely one of the more rewarding albums of that era, like late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah, and just so we don't confuse everybody, Dinosaur Jr. did not do Walk the Dinosaur. That was not was. My number 8 is Stone Temple Pilots. Everybody loved these guys when they first came out. Even now, I can listen to a lot of their songs. I think the first song I listened to by them was Plush, and then the acoustic version of Plush. With stuff like Vaseline, Tripping on a Hole in the Heart, Interstate Love Song, Creep. They were one of the bands that really brought grunge to a national stage. I would say Nirvana did it more so in popularity, but outside of Seattle, Stone Temple Pilots, since they're based in San Diego, they were really, the ones that kind of brought that grunge rock, to a new light, and I just absolutely love listening to their stuff.
Yeah, they were basically the ambassadors of grunge.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely one of the more important grunge outfits, along with Nirvana and Pearl Jam. So
yeah,
it's a genre you cannot avoid when talking about the 90s.
Oh no, not at all. What is your number 7, JT?
My number 7 is second Canadian band on my list, which is the Matthew Good Band. And Matthew Good, I thought he was maybe an actor or just an activist for the longest time, until I actually found out that he, headed his own band, because he did a lot of, political, I guess we're not rabble rousing, but he was an activist, for a lot of political causes, or his own political causes, stuff like that in the 90s, stuff like the Canadian Katimovic Project and stuff like that. And they're an alt-rock band that they were a slightly harder alt-rock sound that I love. They weren't all the way something as hard as Bush. But they had an edge to them that I really liked. And I mean, you look at some of the stuff they did, probably the first album I ever got of theirs was Underdogs, and it has my two favorite songs of theirs, which was Apparitions and Everything is Automatic. And from then on, I just went back and forth. I got The Last Ghetto with the Astronauts, and then Beautiful Midnight and Audio of Being. They're probably the second band that once I got iTunes, I bought all of their albums. I just couldn't help myself. But you look at stuff specifically Underdogs, that came at a time, I'm getting out of high school, and, the stereotypical, what do I do now with my life?
Yeah.
And that was basically that album was part of my, mental soundtrack for, the next year or so. Any given time, I was listening to that in my car. So I don't know what else to really say. It's just they're a band that their sound came at a time when I needed them, kind of like Bush and Moist. And they're another band like Matchbox 20. There's just nothing I don't like about them. It's really hard for me to find anything with a lot of bands that I dislike.
I'm just glad you put the Bush before the Moist, because if you put it the other way around, I was like, oh my god, no, he wasn't going to say a moist Bush.
God.
Bring that up.
Oh, good lord.
Way to
George
go.
W is going to kill us.
I want you to get that boy in Kentucky.
Oh god. Dude, what is your number 7?
My number 7 is kind of a lighter band, the Cranberries. Known for songs like Zombie, Ode to My Family, and Linger. They were one of my favorite female-fronted groups of the 90s. I'm trying to remember the name of the lead singer now, and I can't.
Dolores.
But,
isn't it Doris or Dolores
something?
or something like that?
I think it's Doris something, I think. I'll look it up right now. But she has one of my favorite voices. I think she could just really carry a tune very well. And the band just made a lot of great singles and good albums. And I'm actually going to see them later this year because they just reunited for a new album after 10 years. So exciting stuff.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for me, those songs that you mentioned, like Zombie and Linger, and I think there was one other one. Those are really the only songs I knew from them during that time, and I think Zombie was used in a bunch of stuff, though.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, and the girl I was talking about is Dolores. I don't know if I'm saying
O'Riordan.
this right. O'Riordan?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I knew that's what her first name was, though. All right, so my number 7 is something that people might not think I would listen to, but Incubus. I heard Stellar and Pardon Me off the Make Yourself album, and absolutely love those songs. And I got the actual CD of the album, and a lot of the other songs in the album, like The Warmth and When It Comes and Privilege, just really, really, I would say it's a cross between electronica and like alt rock. I mean, they kind of like, I don't think Incubus can really be defined, even though I know that, most like iTunes and stuff like that would probably define them as sort of, I guess, alternative rock or just rock in general. But one of the greatest things about them is when they did their Monuments to Melodies album, they did a cover of Prince's Let's Go Crazy. And I actually prefer the Incubus version over the original.
Yeah, I think if I was on the '80s show, I probably would have mentioned Prince in that. But
Yeah.
A cover of a Prince song sounds intriguing. I haven't heard that much Incubus. I know of them, and I'm intrigued. So I'm gonna have to check that out as soon as the show is done.
Yeah, they also released an album called Morning View, which had Wish You Were Here and Nice to Know Ya. They released Crow Left of the Murder, which had Talk Shows on Mute, a bunch of other ones. I think one of the ones that I absolutely love was off their Light Grenades album, is a song called Dig. That was a really great song as well. So JT, moving on to number 6.
Number 6 is the Bare Naked Ladies.
The Big Bang Theory Band.
They are much more than just the Big Bang Theory band.
No, but I say that in praise though, because that was like when the Big Bang Theory premiered. That was like the first time I'd heard them in 10 years.
No, they're the big. Oh God, I was going to call them the Big Bang Theory. The Bare Naked Ladies are, again, they're like Matchbox 20. They're a band that I love listening to because I love their music. Left and right, up and down. There is no Bare Naked Ladies song or album that I don't like. And these guys are so awesome. They've got a Ben & Jerry's ice cream named after them.
Yes, they do.
If I had a million flavors, which I have yet to find. For some reason, I can't find it in Saskatoon. But no, I mean...
Because you live in Saskatoon.
Don't start, Mike.
You can't find anything.
I'll come down to Kentucky.
Yeah.
I will cross the border.
At least you'll be able to find stuff.
I will hurt you. Anyway. The Bare Naked Ladies, like I said, they've got, because the fact that they've got, like a cello, and they have instruments and in their song that no other band that I'm aware of really use. They have a very unique sound. They have a very light... Even when they're doing like some of their slower, more down songs, there's still a bit of an energy and an enthusiasm in all their music and performances that I just dig. I love on every level. And the fact that they do the theme song to one of my favorite sitcoms is pretty awesome too. I'd probably say one of my favorite and videos. I mean, Bare Naked Ladies have always had a lot of fun, really kind of imaginative videos. Specifically, 1 week in Pinch Me. Like one week is in if you do a top 10 favorite what the hell videos.
Oh yeah.
For all the crazy stuff that happens there, and Pinch Me, just for the kind of sitcom-esque nature of having Ed Robertson work at like this hot dog stand, which is a drive-through, and then all the crazy people that come through there. It's just, again, they're a band that I love, and I probably always will love. So, and they also performed on Dennis Leary's Christmas special a few years ago, which was kind of awesome.
Okay,
God.
I feel bad. I feel bad because you have like all Canadian bands on your list, or like mostly Canadian bands. I have 0 Canadian bands on my list.
Dave has denounced Canada, ladies and gentlemen.
No, David's not denounced Canada, Mike. Don't make this a political platform for yourself.
I
all right,
consider
Dave, what's
myself
your
an
number 6?
My number 6 is probably the most obscure band on this list, My Bloody Valentine, not to be confused with the movie, the 3D horror film that came out a few years ago. This is a band that really only released one album in the entire decade of the 90s, and that was Loveless in 1991. They had another album called Isn't Anything before that. I think it was in 88, 89. But this album really got me through college. Immediately from the first moment I listened to it, I just fell in love with it because I had never really heard anything like this before. And it really got me into this weird genre that many people have not heard of called shoegaze music that was popular in the late 80s, early 90s, used a lot of effects, a lot of really heavy overdrive. The actual sound of the music is really dark and heavy, almost like metal, but the singing is very light and kind of nice and dreamy and almost placed underneath the guitar. So it has a very different sound to it, and it kind of got me into music, the way that music is produced more than anything else. So
Yeah.
worth checking out for probably everyone who's listening to this who has never heard of these guys before.
I don't know if it's because I heard of the movie, but I remember hearing about them specifically at a couple times, but I don't think I've ever heard anything from them. For me, as far as number 6 goes, is a rock and roll band that's been around since the 70s, but I only really found them in the 90s, and it's all Wayne's World's fault. Aerosmith.
I thought you were going to say Queen.
No. Aerosmith. Steven Tyler, Joe Perry, Tom Hamilton, and I forget the other 2 guys' names off the top of my head. Just amazing rock band. You want to talk about guys that put on good videos. These guys put on amazing videos.
And I think they're touring again now as well.
Yes. It's actually a funny story. I don't remember if we talked about Aerosmith in the actual 90s discussion episode, but they are from
them.
I think we mentioned them, but I don't think I've told this story. I know I've told it before, but I don't think I've told it in podcast form. They are from Boston. Actually, they at one point, Joe Perry was living near Marshfield, Massachusetts, where at the time my mom's boyfriend's dry cleaners was there, and Joe Perry would come to his dry cleaners to have his dry cleaning done.
Wow.
So I'm like literally a step and a half away from knowing Joe Perry personally.
Less than 6 degrees of separation away from Joe Perry's dry cleaning service.
Yes, exactly.
Congratulations, Mike.
But no, I mean, songs like Crazy and Crying and Ragdoll and Love in an Elevator and Janie's Got a Gun, just amazing songs. Dream On, which is, again, if anyone did like a top 10 or a top 20 list of songs of, even if someone did a top 20 best song list of all time or top 100 best song list of all time, Dream On has to be on there somewhere at the top.
Yeah,
Because,
I think I actually have the Rolling Stone top 500 songs on my computer. I think Dream On's somewhere in the top 200, if not the top 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would have, if I made a list for the 70s, I probably would have included Aerosmith in that, maybe the 80s. Didn't really like them as much in the 90s.
I had known about them then, but like I said, I didn't really find out about them until the Big Ones compilation Greatest Hits album came out. So that's why I put them here in the 90s.
Yeah.
And even in the 90s going into the 2000s, they released oh god. I think the album is called Just Push Play. They released that album with Jaded and the title track of Just Push Play and all that, and they consistently do good music.
Yeah, no, it's not. That can't be said that they haven't ever done something good. I mean, I didn't really discover them until I discovered Run DMC.
Oh yeah,
Because of which was probably the first remix. Yeah, first remix. And I was just like, why does that guy look like a lady? And I'm not making that up to be funny. No, that was actually, I remember that very clearly. That was the first, like, dude's got woman lips, you know. But Steven Tyler, one of the greatest voices in rock and roll.
Yeah, I was watching just
and he can still sing.
Oh yes, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just recently, they did a candid special on 60 Minutes. I think it was like a couple weeks ago, about a month or so ago. And Steven said something about "Dude Looks Like a Lady" wasn't the original song title and lyric. It was something else. It was something probably more creepy. So that's very interesting. But Aerosmith has always been an awesome rock and roll band, and they've done, they're a band who can hit those hard riffs and really rock your ass off. And they're also a band that can touch your heart with stuff like "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing" from the Armageddon soundtrack. So very, very awesome.
Well, yeah.
JT, what is your number 5?
Number 5 is going south of the 49th parallel. The Foo Fighters.
Yes.
So just barely south into Seattle, just below the border.
Yeah, just below the belt. But no, the Foo Fighters, obviously, Dave Grohl his big star was in Nirvana as the drummer, and he's in one of my all-time favorite drummers because he's just got that manic energy, like he's gonna beat these skins within an inch of their life. And then I found out later that he started Foo Fighters. I didn't really discover Foo Fighters until I think the second album, The Color and the Shape, in '97. Because the first song I ever heard from them was Monkey Wrench. And just after hearing that song, I was hooked. Like, this is a band, because they have this, not unlike the Bare Naked Ladies, they have a very manic energy to them, but they also like to tell stories through their music through songs like My Hero, Everlong, stuff like that. Probably one of my favorite videos of theirs, because, again, they're a band that likes to have fun when they shoot videos. They've got, specifically Grohl, I would say, has a very dark sense of humor some days.
Yes, he does.
Well, yeah, I mean, he played the devil in the Tenacious D movie, and that was kind of awesome. But my favorite video of theirs, and also one of my favorite songs, is Learn to Fly.
Yeah.
Where it's basically talking about this random 747 flight, and they all play like a dozen different characters throughout the video. And there's one scene where I can't remember who the backup guitarist, I think it was Nate Mendel, I'm not sure, came into the video, and Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins are dressed up as these two huge fat ladies. And they start looking around at all the different passengers, specifically like the Foo Fighters themselves, because they're also on this flight.
Yeah.
And they start like daydreaming, everyone's heads turning into hamburgers, and eventually it becomes like Airplane, where the Foo Fighters have to land the plane. Like, I'm surprised they didn't get Leslie Nielsen to do a cameo.
Do we have Clarence?
Yeah. Do you like movies about gladiators, Joey? But no, they're a band. They campaign for a lot of different political causes. They're activists. They try to do something beyond with their music, beyond just playing music. They try to get people involved, and they try to inform and educate people. So that alone is one of the main reasons why I like the band. But in the end, they're just a great rock band. They do great songs, great shows, and I would love to see them in this lifetime.
Yes.
So.
Cool.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Dave?
I was just going to say, I'm kind of glad you mentioned Dave Grohl, because there's a band I forgot to mention in my honorable mentions. Another band that has Dave Grohl in it, and I'm not actually talking about Nirvana. I'm talking about Queens of the Stone Age. I completely forgot to bring them up, and they're another one of my bands, just kind of going off on a sidetrack.
Good stuff.
He wasn't with them there through their whole run, but he was a member at one point.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of made me think of them.
For me, the Foo Fighters have to... Like, I like their songs, but it's not... They're not a band I can listen to their entire catalog. I mean, it's not like me where I can go through all of Theory of a Dead Man's catalog or 12 Stone's catalog or, you know, whatever. But I love when their songs show up in movies. Like My Hero showed up in Varsity Blues. You know, I mean, I love when that kind of stuff happens. Yeah. I love the fact that I think, was it the last record or the record before the last one where they recorded it all on, like, tape? They actually went back to using, like, I don't know if it was 8-track, but they actually went back to using a non-digital means of recording their album at one point.
Oh,
wow, cool. I did not know that. Yeah. The White Stripes did that with a few of their albums, I think, too.
Yeah. What were you going to say, JT?
I was going to say they also pitied the Foo on Robot Chicken. Have you ever seen that? If you've ever seen that sketch where, you know, they put Mr. T through a wall.
The Foo Fighters put Mr. T through a wall. That's not even cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So, moving on. Where the hell are we? I lost my place, damn it.
It's Dave now.
Okay, yeah. Dave, what do you got for number 5, I think it is?
Yeah, because I already said number 6.
Okay.
Is They Might Be Giants. Another kind of an obscure band, but they had a few songs that people kind of know them for. Most notably, Istanbul, Particle Man. A lot of songs off of their Flood album from 1990, actually, which is one of the main reasons why I put them on this list. They Might Be Giants has their own special kind of weird. Like, their songs not only make sense, or they not only don't make sense, but they don't make sense in the best way possible. If that's the only way I can really describe them.
That makes so much sense.
I know. And one of the best uses of accordion in a band. So,
yes. Briefly, not to take away from Dave's pick here, but going back to the Foo Fighters, Wasting Light, the 2010 album, was recorded in Dave Grohl's garage using only analog equipment.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. They Might Be Giants. I think I've only heard maybe 2 songs from them. I think.
Yeah, Birdhouse in Your Soul is another one a lot of people know. Anna Ing, maybe. They've done a lot of songs for, like, soundtracks and, like, theme songs of different shows.
Yeah.
I think the Daily Show theme song was done by them. In the second Austin Powers movie, the Dr. Evil theme was done by them. And then most notably, probably the song most people know them for, that I almost forgot, the Malcolm in the Middle theme.
Oh, yeah.
Boss of Me was They Might Be Giants. I think if you don't know them for anything else, if you've seen even one episode of Middle, you know that song, and that's them. And they have that signature kind of whiny voice that gets kind of annoying, but it's kind of... I like it at the same time because it's unique. So...
Yeah. I think I get them and the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones confused sometimes because I always... Whenever someone says to me They Might Be Giants, the first thing I go to is the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones song of the impression that I get, but I know it's Boss Tones and not They Might Be Giants.
They're different. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, they're different enough that you shouldn't have that, but that's just...
But they're both very kind of like lighthearted bands, so I can understand that. It's not like you're getting them and like Bush mixed up or something.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Because if you got Bush mixed up with them, wow.
Yeah, no, I know Bush did not do the impression that I get. Oh, God. So my number 5 is the second crossover, and why I didn't talk about them a lot earlier, is U2. I would say Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft kind of, relaunched U2 into a new light with Elevation and all the Tomb Raider music that they did. But no, like Dave said earlier, and I absolutely loved Mysterious Ways simply because it was in the pilot for Witchblade, and it's basically got Yancey Butler looking hot as hell on a motorcycle. But no, I love that song. I love a lot of their other songs. I love the fact that Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen did the theme song for the first Mission Impossible movie. That was awesome.
Actually, something kind of weird was the band members actually split off, and you already said Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen did Mission Impossible, but then Bono and The Edge wrote the theme song for GoldenEye that Tina Turner performed.
Yes.
Very obscure,
which is probably my favorite.
It's
probably my favorite Bond song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My favorite Bond song is the Duran Duran song for View to a Kill.
View to a Kill, yeah.
That song is awesome.
I could see that.
But no, I mean, U2, they've been around forever, and, you can say that, at some point when they've, when you hear about Bono and U2 at this point nowadays, it's like, oh, Bono's doing more charity work, and I think that they've kind of let the music take a back seat to doing the charity work. And not that there's anything against, doing the charity work, but if you're an artist and you want people to listen to your stuff, you have to make stuff.
Yeah.
Make albums. You have to create songs. I mean, it's fine if they want to, turn into a band that writes songs for others. That's, all well and good. I just don't think that your charity work should take a front seat to your music.
Yeah, I think they've gotten to the point now where they release an album every 5 years or so.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the band members are in their 50s. So
well, the Rolling Stones are in their hundreds. I mean, they're still putting shit out. But
they got
your point. So.
Yeah, I'm okay with them slowing down a little bit at this point compared to the 80s where they had an album coming out every 1 or 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to mention to you too, The Edge me and Mike did the podcast about the Batman cartoon last week, and The Edge did the first and best version of that theme song. If you haven't seen it or heard it.
God, so creepy.
It was creepy, but it was a decent, I don't want to say funky in that sense, but it had a really unique sound to it. It was perfect for the cartoon, and then they're like, hey, let's make it better.
Yes, yes. So, JT, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is a band that Mike tried to attribute a song of theirs to. One of my earlier in the list is the Crash Test Dummies.
Oh, yes.
Going back to Canada. Now, they're honestly, as much as they are an alternative rock band, they're much more closely, even though they're labeled that, they sound much more like a folk rock band, which in that sense is pretty much the only folk rock that I listen to.
Well, on their their first 3 albums, 2 or 3 albums they did. But one of the things I like about Crash Test Dummies is they're constantly reinventing their sound.
Yeah.
So there's really no 2 Crash Test Dummies albums that sound exactly alike. And I think that's really cool compared to some bands where they're constantly the same.
We're reinventing our sound, and it sounds like the same old thing. No, that's one of the many things I love about the band. Also, the fact that, I just love the name first of all.
It's because of those car commercials. Don't lie.
No, it's because of the music, Mike.
For me, it makes me think of the Crash Test Dummies toys that came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember those? Where you press a button and all the pieces fly off? They stopped making them because I think they were like a choking hazard, but those things were awesome, and I miss them.
Yeah. But no, the Crash Test Dummies, they're a band that I just love top to bottom, like the Bare Naked Ladies, because they just have this very unique sound. Like Dave said, they excuse me, they reinvent themselves with every album, but they'll maintain that integrity, that I guess their personal dedication to their craft, because they are one of the bands that there's nothing I've ever listened to of theirs that it sounds bad or this isn't as good as the previous album. Like, they always maintain that high level of professionalism almost without sounding like so much product.
Yeah.
Now, one of the first songs I ever listened or heard of them was, the aforementioned
I just don't understand. I listen to that song and I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's a weird song, like lyrically, yeah.
Yes.
And then there's stuff like the lead track of what I think there's a second or third album was Afternoons and Coffee Spoons, which is a very poppy, lighthearted song. Then there's stuff like the Ballad of Peter Pan from the Dumb and Dumber soundtrack. Probably my all-time favorite song, which came out prior to it actually happening in comic books, was the Superman song, which talked about Superman dying, and you watch the music video and they got Green Arrow and the Flash and Wonder Woman, but all the costumes were tweaked just so Warner Brothers didn't sue the hell out of them. But it's just basically like, it was a great song, and it came out like it was very serendipitous, because it came out at the same time as the comic books, more or less, and thus kind of making me a fan for life. So I think probably of all their songs. Sorry, Dave.
I think the first time I heard them was the Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead from the Dumb and Dumber soundtrack. And then from then I was like, these guys are cool. And I went and got all their albums. And I actually just recently listened to every single one of their albums in order, like in chronological order. And it never got boring. Like, I never wanted to stop listening to them. So I think that's a testament to them as a band.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, just like I said, like Afternoons, Coffee Spoons, it's just them singing about having a great day, basically. And I love songs like that from bands that I love, where they just basically a slice of life sort of song. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, stuff like that's always good. Dave, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is Blur, probably one of the most prominent Britpop bands of the 90s, and sang a lot of songs about Britain, even though I don't know that much about the country. I just think their music is great. Mostly known for the Song 2. I think it was on the Batman and Robin or Batman Forever soundtrack or something. The one where it's just the guy going, wahoo!
Yeah.
That's like the main thing people know Blur for. But I mean, they've got a lot of really great albums that came out before that didn't have as many hit singles on them, but just very fun band to listen to, and very entertaining. I've always been a fan of, I think his name is Damon Albarn, the guy who's their lead singer, who also happens to be the guy who started Gorillaz in the early 2000s. So another band that I really like.
Yeah. Crazy Canadian stuff. My number 4 is the Goo Goo Dolls. Now, I know this is going to show up on JT's list at some point, because JT has confessed to me before that he's a huge Goo Goo Dolls fan. But I absolutely love these guys because of what they've done with their own sound. Like, they're an alt-rock band, but they don't really... They're more of an alternative ballad band, honestly. I mean, it's kind of like, the hair metal ballads of the 80s, but you take out the metal part of it, and you get the Goo Goo Dolls. And they have a really...
That's actually a very good way to describe them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just call them just a rock band because, I mean, they've played in, they've been an alt-rock band. They've been a post-grunge rock band. They've been a pop rock band. They were punk rock in their early career. They're just a rock band because, I mean, if once you cross into more than 2 or 3 subgenres of rock, you're just a rock band.
Yes.
Not to take anything away from them, so.
Right. I think the first song I ever heard from them was Name. I didn't even know who they were. And then in 1998, Iris hit. And the Dizzy Up the Girl album was just super, super popular because of that, because of Iris being on the City of Angels soundtrack. And they're a band that, as JT said, can rock out, but can also, as I said, can also do a ballad like Iris. And I love listening to their songs.
Yeah, no, it's the Goo Goo Dolls do show up in my list, so I will refrain from commenting at this time.
What is your number 3?
My number 3 actually isn't the Goo Goo Dolls. It's Mr. Lenny Kravitz.
Yes.
Probably the...
former husband of Lisa Bonet.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold that against him.
Hey, somebody had to marry Denise at some point.
Yeah.
She was Denise Cosby. Come on now.
That. I know. Honestly, I was more attracted to the older sister.
Sandra?
What? Yeah.
Wait, I don't think I was ever attracted to any of the Cosby kids.
You want Elvin Seconds? Ugh.
Okay, we're erasing the last 30 seconds.
No, we're not.
Lenny Kravitz, probably the first and only singular, artist on my top 10 favorites list here. Because again, kind of like the Blue Goo Goo Dolls, he plays like a dozen different instruments. He plays in 6 different genres. He's a singer, he's a songwriter, he's a composer, a lyricist, producer, arranger, actor, apparently also an interior and clothing designer. This guy is like the living, breathing version of the comic book character Mr. Terrific. He can do pretty much any damn thing he wants.
Yeah.
And my first introduction to Lenny Kravitz was just hearing the single "Are You Gonna Go My Way" in the mid-90s. And really didn't get into him until, what was the one that came out? Was it circa 95? What was it? Circus?
5? With Fly Away?
Yeah, that's it. No, album 5 in 98 with Fly Away.
Yeah.
If you can't say no, I belong to you. He's a guy, he just has a very soulful sound. He has has both an aggressive and a very soft sound. This is a guy, he can play any genre, he can play any type, he can play any instrument. This guy is the Swiss Army knife of musicians.
Yes.
And it just, seriously, the guy, he grew up knowing the greats like Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Curtis Mayfield, Gladys Knight. This guy there was nothing else going for him except music.
Yeah.
So.
I would say, and I don't know if I'm going to get hate mail for this or if I'm going to get people commenting on this episode post on GeekCastRadio.com saying you're fucking wrong. I would say that Lenny Kravitz is to the 90s as Jimi Hendrix was to the 60s. I mean, he's that diverse and he's that much of a rocker.
I could see it, yeah.
I don't know if I would put him on that pedestal, but I can see the comparison.
I'm not. I need to clarify. I'm not saying Lenny Kravitz is as good as what Jimi Hendrix was. I'm saying their styles and the 2 different decades that they performed their music in, they are similar to each other in those retrospect. In that,
definitely.
Yeah,
And there's
in that respect. So,
and there's definitely Jimi Hendrix influence on Lenny Kravitz's music.
oh yes,
Well, and even in his style, especially on 5.
oh yes, yeah.
This
I
is
mean, Fly Away could essentially be the 90s version of Purple Haze. I mean, it just could.
yeah. He doesn't have All Along the Watchtower, but I'm sure it's coming.
Right.
On a random side note, this has nothing to do with Lenny Kravitz's music, but
Yes.
The Hunger Games came out like a week before we recorded this episode, and he's actually in that movie. He actually plays a character in it. Just randomly throwing that out there. He's actually started to act more, and he's not a half bad actor. So,
And he also,
plus he gave birth to Zoe Kravitz, and I think she's hot. So,
and
there you
I
go.
raise my glass to him on that note.
Yes. Where the hell are we now?
I believe it's me with
Yeah, I
my
think it's
number
you.
3.
3. Yeah.
I actually have 3 B artists, like artists that have names that start with B, in a row, and this is the second one, and it's Bjork. Really kind of has a weird style. One of my favorite female singers, we already mentioned the chick from the Cranberries earlier. I think I probably like Bjork even more than I like her. Someone I just kind of got into recently, I always kind of lumped Bjork into this like pop rock singer category and never really gave her the respect she deserved. But once I really started to listen to her, I realized how much of a brilliant songwriter she is and how diverse all of her music is.
Yeah.
Some of it's leaning towards pop, some of it's like borderline heavy metal. Some of it's got like a dance influence. She's all over the map, and there's really something for everyone. And her best work was in the early 90s when she released like Debut and Post with Army of Me and like Hyper Ballad and
Hyper Ballad, Beautiful Sensuality, Human Behavior, and Violently Happy are all the ones that I know. Now that you say that, though, Dave, that she's very versatile and does almost anything and everything with her music, I would say that Lady Gaga is a Bjork copycat.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga is pretty much Madonna and Bjork like put together.
Madonna, Bjork, and Miranda Lambert. Because I'm sorry, there is one song. There's a song called "You and I" by Lady Gaga, where I swear to God, it sounds like she's a country artist.
Well,
Maybe
she's not
that's what she was
satisfied
going
with.
for.
No, I mean Bjork. I liked her like growing up in the '90s. I loved her music videos because they're always like really like she did a
You
lot
want
of.
to talk about a mindfuck when it comes to music videos? Watch her stuff.
Yeah, a lot of them are actually directed by Michel Gondry, who directed Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So
Yeah,
you can see the
and she just has like that really unique, extreme style that you can't look away.
Yeah, no, you can't. It's
not
just
to
impossible
knock
to
her,
look away from it. Yes.
But she's got that sound like a lot of her songs start off like very quiet, like not quietly but very sedately, very soft, and the next thing you know she goes from being like this almost songstress to like almost caterwauling in a way for some of her stuff. But it's not that I dislike her, it's just I do dig some of her stuff. It's just not me. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody.
yeah.
It's actually funny. I think this is true. I mean, I just heard it. I listened to, as of this recording, I just listened to the Nerdist podcast with Chris Hardwick, where he had Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulson on the same episode. So fucking hilarious having the two of them on together. But at the end of the episode, Chris Hardwick started doing a Bjork impression. He said, "Oh yeah, true story. I almost hit on her in a club one time, and then this one guy just kind of jumped in front of me and Bjork cock blocked me, pretty much." But no, it was funny. So hilarious that I was listening to that, and then we were bringing this up. My number 3 is Savage Garden. You know, say what you want to about those two guys, but for two guys from Australia who sing like they live in America, they were awesome. The sad thing is they only made 2 albums, but both of their albums, I love almost every single song off of both of their self-titled album and their Affirmation album. You know, I Want You was huge. To the Moon and Back was huge. Truly, Madly, Deeply was people's love song for years in the 90s. I mean, as soon as Truly, Madly, Deeply hit, it was like, oh my God. People just absolutely love that song. So, and it's kind of sad that they only had 2 albums, and then they just kind of moved on. They broke up and went on to do other things.
I don't know if that's entirely a bad thing. I don't know if their style would have fit into the 2000s as
well, their style, I would say, it's a little bit like, and of course JT's probably going to jump through my monitor for saying this, it's a little bit of the softer version of Vertical Horizon. It's not totally, they're not, the 2 bands aren't similar hardly at all, but, I see a little bit of that, and I think they could have made at least maybe one more album into the 2000s. Yeah, I don't see them, sticking around for 10 years, but, I mean, honestly, after the self-titled album came out, I was like, oh, okay, awesome, and I loved all the songs off that. And then I was in, of all places, I was at the time, which these don't exist anymore. If anyone has one of these in their town, email in and let me know, because at the time I was in a Sam Goody.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I bet JT can't find anything in the town he lives in except a Sam Goody.
No. We've got HMV. We don't got no CD Plus, and all the Rogers and Blockbusters are closed now. So
yeah, but I was in a Sam Goody, and you know how they have. This is not where you can go up and put headphones on and listen to tracks, but they'll have intercom music going on in the store. And I heard the Animal Song is what it's called off of the Affirmation album, and I'm like, wait, is there a new Savage Garden album coming out? They're like, yeah, it's coming out next week. I'm like, oh, awesome. And I left the store. I was like, wow.
Just
cool.
Turn around and walk out.
Well, I mean, the album wasn't out yet. It was like a week away, so. But yeah. Savage Garden would be my number 3. JT, your number 2.
My number 2 is the Goo Goo Dolls.
Ooh, why would you put them at number 2?
Because, Mike, I have
it's a bad shit joke.
What?
Yeah. Do-over. No, I love the Goo Goo Dolls. I started listening to them here and there through friends in high school. Like, we would trade cassettes or whatever for like a week to listen to and make copies of, back when pirating wasn't such a bad thing.
Back when stuff like Silva wasn't even thought of.
Yeah. But no, the first Goo Goo Dolls I ever listened to was Superstar Car Wash, which was the album that kind of bridged their punk rock roots, and it was basically they were transitioning towards the pop rock sound that a lot of people were introduced them on A Boy Named Goo.
Yeah. Which
is my favorite album of theirs is A Boy Named Goo. Now they're a band, like, they've just got an energy, and especially Johnny Resnick, like, he's got a talent with lyrics that almost all of their songs end up having that really catchy. They have really catchy lyrics and very radio friendly, although I don't think that's specifically what he's going for with that.
Right.
It's just they have a sound that I love because, it's one of those things that, not unlike a lot of hair metal stuff that came in the 80s. Like, they just have that unique sound that just hooks me right in the heart like that just right to the core.
Yeah.
Very few bands I can say that about.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like, off of the Dizzy Up the Girl album, the song Dizzy, Slide, which was huge for them. Obviously Iris, as I said before, but like Black Balloon exploded along with Iris. And, even stuff they've done since then. There was Stay With You off of the Gutter Flower album. There was, they actually did a cover of Give a Little Bit.
Yeah.
And, Goo Goo Dolls is a band just like Incubus is a band that I don't mind doing covers because they make the covers sound not better, but just as good as the originals.
Yeah.
I love when bands, like established bands, can do that and it sounds awesome. At the same time, it's like, oh, hey, this is... I'm David Matthews, and here's my David Matthews cover band. And it's like, oh my God, you people suck.
Yeah.
It's like, we're the un-Dave Matthews band. It's like, oh my God. And all they do is covers. And it's like, it's just some cover bands absolutely suck. And then there's some established bands, as I said, that can really pull it off.
Yeah, no, it's the Goo Goo Dolls, like I said, they have this sound that I love. And I wouldn't go into too many details, but Iris is my all-time favorite song from them for some really personal reasons. Suffice to say, I still love her, even though she tore my heart to crap.
It's one of those things, yes.
Yeah, so I like listening to it, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, why are you listening to this fool? She hurt us.
I mean, I don't have that connection with the song, but another band on my 80s, my number one band in the 80s countdown, Hall & Oates. I have that connection with that band and those artists because of my Aunt Rose and I had that's what we bonded over was Hall & Oates songs, and I can't listen to stuff like, Say It Isn't So, and I can't listen to some Hall & Oates songs because I just end up sitting here in tears thinking, oh my God, I miss my Aunt Rose because she's no longer with us.
No, and I mean another artist that at least if I was on the top 10 80s would have been Bryan Adams, and when I say I lump them together with Bryan Adams, the Goo Goo Dolls, is not in any negative reason. It's just they're a band that Bryan Adams, like the Goo Goo Dolls, when they started, they had a growl in them. They had a very noticeable edge in the sound of their music, which over the years has softened and become this very poppy, adult top 40 sort of rock sound, which I still love both the Goo Goo Dolls and Bryan Adams to this day, the current sound, because I love them. And the other thing I just want to mention quick before we move on is Johnny Resnick did the song I'm Still Here for the Disney movie Treasure Planet.
Yep.
Which I love that movie, and I also love that song. So,
awesome. Very underrated movie.
Yeah, it is.
Well, who doesn't love a cyborg pirate? I mean, I tell you.
If you cross that with someone who has a police box and then a zombie, I bet Mike Dodd would be all over that.
Oh, that's a comic book waiting to happen right there. Seriously, I mean, they've had pirates on Doctor Who, but why have they not had cyborg pirates?
Oh, God.
It's only a matter of time. Give it a few more seasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
My number two is, and again, the whole thing of the shit joke. For me, the 80s and the late 80s, early 90s blended together because from late 1992 going into February of 93, I was going through family issues. Essentially what happened was, and I don't mind revealing this because it's what happened, my mom had a nervous breakdown. Come to find out, the boyfriend that she was living with since 1984, in fact, was married and had 2 stepdaughters already. so we have no idea how he was leading this secret life with us. But New Kids on the Block, absolutely love them. Number one, because I'm also from Boston, just as they are. And, you know, even though they had only a certain amount of, huge popularity from 93, I mean, it was everywhere. You know, and, you know, I credit them with really kicking off the 90s boy band craze. Is New Kids. Stuff like Hangin' Tough and The Right Stuff and even some of their other stuff that they've done. They did come back and do another album. Recently they had a reunion a couple of years ago. There's only one song off the album that I actually like, which is called Summertime, which still has that same 90s New Kids flair for it. But I don't know. I just absolutely love them as a kid.
No, I will admit that I was, I know I've poked fun with other friends before, but I was a bit of a fan. Like, I love singing groups, you know, be they boy bands or R&B groups like Boyz II Men, stuff like that. And I did dig a lot of their bigger hits, you know.
Yeah.
Once they kind of, towards the end of their initial fandom, their initial fame, where they went to NKOTB, and I was kind of like,
was like, not so much.
Yeah, especially like when Donnie came out at like a WrestleMania in the early '90s, and
oh god, yes.
I mean, he was starting to sport the scruff and looking kind of how he looks nowadays on Blue Bloods, but it's there. I like them. I love their stuff. So
all of those guys have gone on to do other stuff. Jordan and Jonathan Knight, the twins, have gone on to do their own musical stuff. Joey McIntyre has done his own solo stuff. He was in Boston Public, which was a very awesome Fox drama show.
I tripped out when he came on. I was like,
I know.
Holy shit!
Exactly. Donnie Wahlberg. Yeah, it was Donnie in there, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Donnie. Yeah, Donnie Wahlberg and Danny Wood. Yeah, Donnie Wahlberg, has gone on to do several movies, huh?
He killed Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense.
Oh God!
I'm just saying. When I found out that was in the skinny mental patient that kills Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense, that was Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's gone on to do a bunch of stuff. One thing I remembered as a kid, but I didn't remember until I was doing research for other stuff. I cannot believe that this band had an animated series.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can. When Chuck Norris had his own animated series in the 80s.
Like when I know what it was. I was researching because we interviewed Lauren Lester, who is the voice of Dick Grayson Robin from Batman the Animated Series. And he was the voice of Jordan Knight in New Kids on the Block, the animated series, and I was like, "Oh my god, holy crap." I completely forgot about that cartoon. So,
yeah, no, it's New Kids, like I said, it proves the strength of probably the core of any boy band is like they're a boy band, yes, but they're also, singers and artists. And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Clearly people remember them more for the songs than, Donnie being the badass back in the day and is now, so.
Yes. What about you, Dave? What is your number 2?
My number 2 is I would almost equate him as the male version of Bjork, and that's Beck Hansen, or simply known as Beck on his albums. It's very hard to decipher his lyrics, but I've always just dug his stuff. I love how eclectic Beck is, that he can combine country and hip hop and rock, not just on the same album, but into the same song and actually make it work.
Yeah,
I think that's amazing.
Not only make it work, but make a sound unto himself that is almost unclassifiable.
Yeah, you know a Beck song because it's a Beck song. There's really nothing else that sounds like it.
Yeah, it's not alt-rock, it's not pop, it's not new wave. It's just, that's Beck.
Yeah. I think if we compared Lenny Kravitz to like the 90s Jimi Hendrix earlier, I think I would almost call Beck the 90s Bob Dylan in a sense.
I can see that, actually.
Yeah, you can see that. It's kind of like how
he's like the
Lenny Kravitz was, Jimmy. Then Beck,
he's like the anti-folk artist, basically.
Yeah.
He like takes standard folk music and then kind of spins it on his head. And a lot of his best stuff, like Loser, Where It's At, Jackass, The New Pollution, a lot of really great songs all came out in the 90s, so that's why I included him on this list. He was easily one of the most prolific artists of that time, and one of the hardest to nail down stylistically. Just kept changing on every album.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'll always love Beck probably till he dies, despite how weird he is and the fact that he's a Scientologist and whatever.
That's the thing. It's like,
yeah.
Everybody's like, oh my God, we have to pay attention to what our favorite artists or bands are doing in their personal lives. I don't care. As long as you give me a nice, good, awesome, catchy song. I mean, outside of, either being a child molester or a murderer, I don't care what these people do in their personal time as long as they keep giving me great music. It's, people, same thing can be said about Tom, and I know we're going off on a tangent here, but same thing can be said about Tom Cruise. I don't give a shit if he's a goddamn Scientologist as long as he keeps pumping out Mission Impossible movies.
I don't care if you're a Scientologist as long as you keep your religion to yourself. Just saying.
Wait, maybe they want to lose their religion. But bump.
Oh,
wow, that was lame.
Epic fail.
And now, our number one choices. So, JT, what is your number one favorite artist or band of the 90s?
Going back to Canada, again, it's Our Lady Peace.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
those boys who seem to think they are so innocent.
I don't think they think that, Mike. They're a band.
It's one of their song titles, you moron.
I know. Now,
they killed Superman, damn it!
No, that was DC Comics, and actually it was his marriage that killed him, but I'll tell you about that later. No, Our Lady Peace, of all the artists on my list, they are the ones that I think almost completely deserve the title of artist. Mm-hmm. Like everything from their early alt-rock and the post-grunge to, the even art rock, which I didn't even know was a genre, and coming back again to their alt-rock roots in recent years is they're a very artistic band. Like everything from their album covers to their album titles to their song titles to their lyrics. They're just a band, like led by Rain Mata. Like this is a band. The first song I ever heard was Superman's Dead.
Yeah.
And they're a band again, kind of like the Foo Fighters, that they came up with some really interesting and very intense visuals in a lot of their videos. And all these some really, and also like Bush, some really dark stuff too at times. But that wasn't necessarily, the videos were never necessarily a reflection of their music. It's just, here's the song, but we're going to go, Superman's Dead. So instead of doing something like the Superman song from Crash Test Dummies, they came up with like this kind of surreal Tim Burton-esque nightmare sequence of like kind of a zombified Superman.
Yeah.
And it's just, they're a band that I love everything they've done. It's especially, honestly, Naveed. I think it was Naveed, or was it Starseed? I forget which was the actual album. It's just, that was the first one I ever got of theirs that was my own. Like my brother had a couple. Like he had Clumsy and Happy. This is a fish you can catch. It's just their stuff. Like they tell stories that you might not necessarily get right away, but you understand at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just, I love these guys. Like, there is just so much I want to say, but I would be here for an hour. So, and I will say, I also slightly hate Rain Mata because he's married to Chantal Kreviatsik, and one day she will be mine.
Yeah, right, dude.
Keep
dreaming.
Hey, a man can dream.
Keep dreaming. Our Lady Peace, I loved all their stuff. They actually have a new album coming out on April 17th called Curve.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. I'm going to get that on iTunes as soon as I can.
Yep. And it was funny, I think they just released a single for it. I got an iTunes notification that they released a single for something recently. But no, yeah, they were always a really, really great band. What about you, Dave? What is your number one favorite band or artist from the 90s?
My number one favorite band from the 90s is Radiohead. A band that's gotten me through pretty much any time I'm feeling down. I could just listen to a Radiohead song, and it's like they understand exactly what I'm going through. I think it was Rolling Stone magazine that actually said that in a time, in like the late 90s, early 2000s, in a time when most artists really care as much about their music, a lot of them were holdovers from the early 90s, or they were artists that were just sort of coming out but weren't really putting out anything good yet. Radiohead was like the one artist that really popped to the top of the heap during that time period, and were known for putting out music that was as good as some of the best music that was coming out back in like the 60s and 70s, that they put that much thought into it, not only lyrically but musically, and even the way that their songs are mixed together and the songs that are chosen for the album. I don't know, everything about Radiohead I think is absolutely brilliant. They're just one of those artists I will never tire of. And I think if I was on a desert island and I had to pick one band that I could only listen to them for the rest of my life, it would probably be these guys. So, and definitely looking forward to future Radiohead albums coming out in the future, since they're still putting out great stuff. In Rainbows came out in 2007, was one of their best albums. So
you're looking forward to the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the only song I've ever heard from them is Creep.
It was a good song.
It was a good song, but it's so funny
90s.
to me that 3 bands and artists in the 90s all have a song named Creep. Stone Temple Pilots have one, Radiohead, and TLC.
Yeah, except wasn't TLC's called Creep Creep?
Well, that was in the song. It's like Creep Creep. But...
Yeah, that's just in the song. That's not
okay.
The actual. Yeah, no.
That is pretty funny though. But yeah. I would say to anyone to go back and listen to their OK Cupid album OK Cupid. That's the website named after the album. Their OK Computer album from 1997. Probably one of the best albums of the late 90s, if the entire decade of the 90s.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't had a chance, listen to that.
No, I got to say one thing about Radiohead. Well, again, kind of like Björk, not that I disliked their sound. Like some of their stuff I really loved. I absolutely loved their videos. Because, I mean, like, I'm a guy, I love comics, cartoons, I like something with a visual texture to it, something that, you can, like, notice a lot of things. And Radiohead always had really inventive and entertaining music videos.
Oh yeah, for sure. Their music video for Street Spirit Fade Out is probably my favorite music video ever made. So,
really?
I will definitely agree with you on that one.
Yes.
It's one of, every now and again you watch them was in your head while you were listening to the song, and that's how I feel about that video.
Yeah, I think probably I haven't seen for a while. Was it the video for Airbag? For some reason, that's coming to my mind.
Is that the one where he's driving in his car?
I think that's the one.
Oh no, that's Karma Police. I don't know if I've seen the one for Airbag.
No, Karma Police. That's the one I was thinking of, where he's. I thought, Airbag driving. No, it's just. It's something about like they're kind of like they're artists on every level, like their lyrics, their performances, their music videos. It just all seeps through to every facet of their deal, and I love. Like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of their music. I loved some of it, but it was their videos were just visually like they were beautiful. So
Yeah.
They definitely have a very uncompromising style, but I will say that you have to be in the right mood to listen to Radiohead. They're very dark and depressing, I guess. And
Yes.
very melancholy.
yeah, that's a good word to use.
Yes. And my number one is the only solo artist on my list, which is Edwin McCain. Most people will know him for the song I'll Be off of the Misguided Roses album. He also did I Could Not Ask for More off the Messenger album. Honestly, one of the reasons why I like him so much is his 1999 Messenger album, from track 1 to track 12, minus the fact that there's an acoustic version of I'll Be on that album. It was just great songs. It was awesomely written songs, great sounding songs. He's someone who approaches it from a songwriter's standpoint versus, a band like, say, Nickelback that may have gotten too polished and too radio friendly or whatever else. And, he's someone who approaches it because he loves doing music, not because he's really, the guy's only released a handful of albums his entire career. And his songs have gotten major radio play, but it's not like he's releasing music every 2 years.
Yeah.
But I don't know, specifically the Messenger album is an album I can listen to on repeat all the time and just absolutely love it. It was just great. So there you go. That's our top 10. We are going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to come back and briefly give some final thoughts and close the show after that.
Hey, this is Dave Brenner, guitar player for Theory of a Dead Man. You're listening to GeekCast Radio Network.
Movie Week in Review is the GeekCast Radio Network's weekly movie podcast. Steve and Mike take a look back on their favorite films and give you their thoughts. They also bring in co-hosts at times. If you are a movie buff, listen to M-Wire only on GeekCastRadio.com.
And here's some selections from JT's countdown list. Enjoy.
Save me from this. Wandered round the town, all the thousand things I might miss. And you think we'll suffer much. Think we'll close our eyes just to see the light pass us by. Grin, still sticking it in. You have some machine adventure days. Drift madly to you, pollute my heart, drain. You have broken in me, broken me. All your mental armor drags me down. Nothing hurts like your mouth, mouth, mouth. Oh, I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go and see the stars, the Milky Way, or even Mars, where it could just be ours. Let's fade into the sun, let your spirit fly, we'll be at one, just for a little fun. Oh, oh, oh yeah.
In Istanbul, to Constantinople, so if you've a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone. Constantinople, why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. Istanbul, Istanbul.
My love, she throws me like a rubber ball. The sweetest thing, she won't catch me or break my fall. The sweetest thing, baby got blue skies overhead, but in this I'm a rain cloud. You know she like a dry kind of love. The sweetest thing, I'm a one-way motorway. I'm a road that drives away, follows you back home. I'm a street light shining man. I'm a white light blinding bright, burning off and on. It's times like these you learn to live again.
Can't I help it if I think you're funny when you're mad? Trying hard not to smile, though I feel bad. I'm the kind of guy who laughs at a funeral. Can't understand what I mean, well, you sing well. I have a tendency to wear my mind on my sleeve. I have a history of taking off my shirt. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Threw your arms in the air and said you're crazy. 5 days since you tackled me. I still got the red burns on both my knees. It's been 3 days since the afternoon. You realize it's not my fault, but a moment too soon. Yesterday you'd forgiven me, and now I'll sit back and wait till you say you're sorry.
At least not to the point that we would think so. And everyone here knows everyone here is thinking about somebody else. Well, it's best if we all keep this under our heads. But I couldn't tell if anyone here was feeling the way I do. But I'm lonely now, and I don't know how to get it back so good. wishes she was a dancer and that she never heard of cancer. She wishes God would give her some answers and make her feel peaceful. I remember feeling low and I remember losing hope and I remember all the feelings and the day they stopped. We are all innocent. We are all innocent. We are. I know you're out there, somewhere out there. Are you worried about your faith? Kneel down and obey. You're happy, you're in love. You need someone to hate. An ordinary girl, an ordinary waste. But ordinary's just not good and not today. Alone, 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 alone. I'm thinking why, yeah. Superman's dead, yeah.
Grab your helmets because it's time to assemble Mask. Coming April 10th, 2012, the GeekCast Radio Network launches Masked Mayhem with your hosts Optimus Solo and TFG and Mike. This podcast, covering all 75 episodes of Mask, will feature in-depth analysis of every episode, talk on the toys, and more. Masked Mayhem will run 30 podcast episodes. You can find us in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com. Get your spectrums ready, as podcasting is the ultimate weapon. Emerging from the dark humor that was the Beast Unleashed podcast, Steve Megatron, TFG and Mike, Pecan Court Michael, and the Cybertronian correspondent Optimus Solo move on to Transformers Animated with Transformation Animation Podcast. 20 episodes covering all 3 seasons of the cartoon, the books, and the awesome toy line. We will also have cast and crew interviews, so get tapped with GCRN's next Transformers franchise podcast, Transformation Animation Podcast, available on iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Get your tap on.
Decepticons, transform and rise up.
Ladies and gentlemen, selections from David Double D Denis's countdown list are playing now.
The habitations of the towns we know, a place we saw the lights total low, the jigsaw jazz and the get fresh flow, pulling out jobs and jamboree handouts, 2 turntables and a microphone, bottles and cans, and just clap your hands, or just clap your hands. Where's that? I got 2 turntables and a microphone. Where's that? I got 2 turntables and a microphone. Where's that? Turntables and a microphone. Where's that? 2 turntables and a microphone. I wish I was special. You're so fucking special. But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't care for her. I wanna have control.
Is this thing on? Oh, goody. Why, hello there. It's your dear old Uncle Joker here. I bet you're asking yourself, what could I be possibly doing here of all places? Well, I'm laughing at the fact that this new podcast presented by GeekCast Radio is called Legends of the Dark Knight. Who the heck knew the Bat was so popular? Ugh. Join Steve, Mike, and sometimes Tara for reviews on the greatest DC animated universe cartoon to ever meet Gotham City. So join moi for the talk of the town, or I'll send Captain Clown after you. He gets mighty angry when he doesn't get to have his garbage skull. So put on a nice big smile and join us for the next GeekCast Radio Network podcast, Legends of the Dark Knight.
Do you like retro shows? Did you grow up in either the 80s or the 90s? Then tune into Telecast, GeekCastRadio.com's newest podcast. Join us here on the Telecast as we revisit some of your favorite shows, such as Clarissa Explains It All, Salute Your Shorts, Saved by the Bell, and much, much more, only on GeekCastRadio.com.
2012 marks the 30th anniversary for Masters of the Universe. We here at the GCRN are celebrating with a brand new series of podcasts. The Powers of Grayskull series will cover every episode of every MOTU cartoon. Yes, even that crappy New Adventure stuff. Join Optimus Solo and TFG1 Mike as they tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, and finally masters of Grayskull. You can find the Pogs podcasts in iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Good journey!
You can now hear the GeekCast Radio Network while on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher is a free-use and talk mobile app available for your smartphone. And when you download Stitcher to hear GeekCast Radio, you'll have a chance to win money. Downloading is quick and easy. Just find Stitcher in the App Store. During registration, hit the promo code box and enter GeekCast Radio, all one word, to get automatically entered to win $100. The latest episodes of the shows will be waiting for you in your favorites. You'll get access to lots of other amazing shows too. Always available to you on demand, no syncing. It's Stitcher Smart Radio. Don't forget to enter promo code GeekCast Radio when you register.
Finally, TFG1 Mike's countdown list. Enjoy.
No meaning, just rhyme. Take time with a wanted hand, 'cause it likes to hear. Take time with a wanted hand, 'cause it likes boy, but she's like bad boy.
wanna feel, I'll give you anything to feel it coming. Do you wake up on your own? I wonder where you are, live with all your thoughts. I wanna wake up where you are. I won't say anything at all, so why don't you slide?
Take your place. No one knows, never will. Mostly me, but mostly you. Do you say, do you do? When it all comes down, 'cause I don't wanna come back down from this cloud. It's taken me all this time to find out what I need now. The wish in this world is of you right here. It's cold and it's dark, and it sure make you crazy. Running to the grass so green. Dangerous road, but it's not gonna change me. It's paved with 10 million broken dreams, beautiful dreams. Yeah, ain't no wish in this world, slide this moment. The dream I could dream that comes near. Yeah, go help my heart. Shines bright like a little one. The wish in this world is of you right here. Sometimes I you wanna know about atrocity, atrocity. I know you want what's on my mind. I know you like what's on my mind. I know that each
I never thought I would be at 23 on the verge of spontaneous combustion. Woe is me, but I guess that it comes with the territory, an ominous landscape of never-ending calamity. I need you to hear, I need you to see, but I have had, I can take an exploding scene, bigger than it is possibility. Tell me, so pardon me while I burst into flames. I've had enough of the world and its people's mindless gaze. So pardon me while I burn and rise above the flame. Pardon me, I'll never be the same. Strands in your eyes, the color them wonderful, stop me and steal my breath. And emeralds from mountains and thrust towards the sky, never revealing their depth. And tell me that we belong together, dress it out with the trappings of love. I'll be captivated, I'll hang from your lips instead of the gallows of heartache that hang from above. And I'll be your crying shoulder, I'll be love suicide. And I'll be better when I'm older. I'll be the greatest part of your life.
Hello, nerds. This is Jesse from Rock Sugar, and you're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network. Keep it right here.
Welcome back to GeekCast Radio's top 10 artists or bands, favorite artists or bands in the 90s. That's going to do it. I think all of our lists were very eclectic, to say the least. I mean, there was only, I think, two overlaps in... three overlaps. Bush, U2, and Goo Goo Dolls were the three overlaps, but the rest of it was all, unique choices to each of us. I know none of us picked Green Day, none of us picked Nirvana, none of us picked, what's another one?
The Smashing Pumpkins and Red Hot
Smashing
Chili Peppers
Pumpkins
are really big ones.
Or Metallica and stuff. And see, the way that I've set up the music spotlight is, we'll talk about certain, like in the 90s episode, we talked about Metallica, Pearl Jam, Nirvana. So I felt, at least in making my own list, because I listened to those bands, but I didn't listen to them all the time. These are the bands on my list that I listened to all the time from 1990 to 1999. So yeah, I've kind of done that kind of separation. JT, any final thoughts for the countdown?
I'd say, obviously I listened to almost nothing but rock music in the 90s. I mean, I certainly listened to other things. Like, I had a lot of soundtracks in the 90s which exposed me to a much wider variety of genres than just rock.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd say, 'cause if I listened to anything else besides rock in the 90s, it would have been a lot of, when I got into like hip-hop, R&B, I like something with a good beat.
Yeah.
Rap, I'm really choosy about what I like to listen to in rap and all that. So, but no, it's just the 90s. It's like some of you said before, is like, whereas the 80s were really expressive and inventive with new sounds, the 90s was like almost the decade of product. And especially in the late 90s, once the companies really started churning out a lot of things, because there were like so many singles I loved listening to in the 90s that you almost never hear from those bands again.
Yeah.
And it was almost all soundtrack stuff too, so.
Yep. I mean, soundtracks for me, and I'm sure at some point I haven't added it to the schedule yet, but we may have a soundtrack and scores episode where we just talk about soundtrack music and scoring stuff like, Hans Zimmer and Trevor Rabin, stuff like that. But soundtracks to me are a buffer. The one specific I know of is Daredevil. Nickelback had "Learn the Hard Way" on the Daredevil soundtrack, and that was like 3 or 4 months before their album came out in 2003.
Yeah.
So soundtracks for me are like, oh hey, this band is coming out with new music. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, specifically soundtracks were better in the 80s and early 90s when, 90% of the music was actually in a movie, but, we can talk about, well, nowadays it's music from and an emphasis on inspired by, which means we paid a lot of money to put it here.
Oh, yes. It's like, we license these fuckers, we're paying them money, so it has to be inspired by.
That, or it's like artists that are on the record label owned by the company that produced the movie, and they want to make more money. Like when Sony puts out a Spider-Man movie, they'll get people who are on Sony Records to be on the album, and they make more money.
Yeah. I mean, specifically, I can think of one band, more so for the 2000s than for the 90s, but since you brought that up about, the companies putting licensed people that the company has rights to. Linkin Park sold their souls to Michael Bay and Paramount Pictures with their Transformers soundtrack songs.
Well, we don't know that for sure, Mike. I mean, Michael Bay could have backed like a couple of tanker trucks up to their respective houses and just dumped it on the front lawn. And if that happens, can you really be accused of selling your soul or just,
Hey, if you sign the contract to sell your soul, that's selling your soul. I'm sure there's contracts involved. Oh, God, can you imagine a Linkin Park Turtles theme song? Oh, God.
Mike, I'm going to hurt you.
Teenage Alien Ninja Turtles. It tain't the real thing. All right, so Dave, any final thoughts on the 90s countdown?
First off, I just hate Linkin Park in general. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyways, I think just the fact that all of our lists barely coincided. Like he said, there's like 3 bands that we had doubles of. There was not a single band that appeared on all 3 of our lists. And I think that's just a testament to the diversity of the 90s that you had. And it was most of it was the music too, especially in the early 90s. There was a lot of good, there was not only good rock, but there was good pop and good hip hop and good techno music, and all this stuff was kind of reaching its heyday all at once. And I would consider it one of the best eras for music.
Oh yeah, no doubt it was. Which again is a band we didn't even talk about, which is No Doubt and Tragic Kingdom and all that stuff, and which I'm surprised no one picked No Doubt as one of their lists, considering we talked about Bush and Gavin Rossdale, and seeing as how he and Gwen Stefani either, I think they used to be or still are married to each other. I don't remember. Anyways,
I don't really follow Gwen Stefani's personal life, so
yeah. Who'd want to? We hope you enjoyed this episode of GeekCast Radio. Wish you'll join us next time when we will be talking about, in the Music Spotlight, the music of the 2000s with Mike the Birdman Dodd. For now, I am TF2 and Mike with
David Double D Denis.
JT from Saskatoon.
Thank you for listening. Until next time, and keep rocking on.
You've just listened to GeekCast Radio on the GeekCast Radio Network. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. First, visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on all of our different podcasts. Second, you can rate our show and leave us feedback in iTunes. Third, follow us on Twitter at GeekCast Radio. Fourth, become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/GeekCast Radio. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for and your name. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.